Hi, everyone. My name is Shawa. First of all, I also would like to make sure that you can hear me. So if you could, just send one to the chat box, um, and I would appreciate. Okay, thank you. I'm glad you can see the screen and also can hear me. I'm going to give you a very quick self-introduction. And since this is an online event, we used to run a lot of offline events, where we, get to meet um, the participants in person and, communicate with them, do some networking. Unfortunately, online is probably not the best way to do it. And usually, this kind of meetup events is more like a one-way delivery. So today, I would like everyone to volunteer, maybe just speak up and introduce yourself, since we have a little bit more time. So if you are open to tell us about yourself, why you're here in this event, why are you interested in data science, or what is your objective? What do you want to get out of this event? And I'm very happy to answer some of questions you guys may have throughout this session and also at the end. Okay, so my name is Shawa. I'm the co-founder and CEO of WeCloudData. Amir has made an introduction to WeCloudData. I came from a computer science undergrad, and also I did my e-commerce master's degree. I got interested in data analytics. So I learned a lot of um, analytics tools such as SAS. That was, back, 13, 14 years ago. So I became certified as a SAS, predictive modeler in 2007. And that helped me get my first job in data science. So I started working for Rogers on the cable marketing analytics team in 2008. And since then, I spent 2 years and moved on to BlackBerry. I worked in the BBM team. So I led a data science team and hired data scientists, data engineers, and also data analysts before, and worked on some really interesting big data projects. I've done teaching part-time at Rice University. I was the first one to teach the big data course at Chen School, taught over 200 students. The course was very popular. That was one of the reasons why I got interested in launching WeCloudData, because I found a huge gap between the academic program and the job market. So yeah, plan to to run a different kind of program that's more practical and introduce real life projects to the students in our program and help them with job search. So we put a lot of effort on supporting students. And we run a lot of events. So we run the Toronto Data Science and Big Data Meetup, and we've run hundreds of events. And I think right now we are the largest and also most active meetup, data-related meetup in Canada. So thanks everyone for your interest in coming to our events. Stay tuned. On this page, you can see that on the 29th, we have another event, which is to introduce how to build data science project portfolio. And on May the 4th, we're going to formally introduce the diploma program to share everything you want to know about this diploma program that we're going to launch end of May. And for those of you who are in the, in the job search process, and we are going to share some interview tips, and also how to search for jobs on May the 7th. So hope you guys keep coming back and can, learn something from the events we run. So now I'm going to turn the mic over to you guys. Any volunteers who would like to self-introduce and tell us about why you're here and your background, maybe where you want to go. If you have any questions, I'm going to take some notes to make sure I get to those questions. Thank you, Nawaz. You're looking for to switch to a data science career, and that's why you're here. Great. And feel free to unmute yourself and just speak up, and so we can all hear you.
Hi, thanks for having this for all of us. My name is Nawaz, and I work for Tangerine. I work as an investments advisor.
Okay.
As I mentioned before, I'm looking to switch to data science, and yeah, and that's what brought me here.
Thank you. Welcome. So hopefully you will learn something from this session. We're talking about the job market today, but regarding, because we've done some previous events on introduction to data science. So what is data science? We did it in April. Data science learning path. So what are some of the things you need to learn in order to get into data science? So you can always, go to wcd.blue and sign up for our free data science course, and we'll make sure that we upload all the workshop recordings there as well. So for those of you who are new here, you can go to wcd.blue, sign up, activate your account, and you should be able to find a free data science course in the data science part-time program. Just unlock that free data science course. We have some mini Python material, big data. We're planning to add some machine learning introduction as well. And you should be able to find some of the event recordings. Okay,
Okay,
so
thank you.
no problem. I saw some other folks raising their hands. So please feel free to introduce yourself. Hi, who? You want to introduce yourself? I see you raise your hand.
Okay. Hey, how's it going? So my name is Sipu, and thanks for having this. I've actually attended a lot of the WeCloudData stuff, and you guys are quite awesome. So thank you for your hard work and keeping this going during this time. I'm actually a recent graduate of a data science diploma program, and I picked the best time in history to graduate from a program. So the biggest challenge for me is making the transition from data science student to data science professional. I'm definitely interested in what you guys are offering the next time about building the portfolio. But really what I want is to build a community and just meet other people who might be in the same position as me. And also, I would love to share any knowledge. So I feel like places like this is where you meet people where you can have those shared experiences. So that's what I'm here for. And I think you guys are checking most of those boxes. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, hey guys, this is a virtual networking event. So feel free to leave your LinkedIn profile or email, in the chat box if you want to network with other people. So thank you, Sipu. Anybody else would like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name's Chris Chavez, and I am currently a student currently a student in what you would refer to as a data science diploma program. Also, I'm about a month out from graduation, and the previous attendant, or what she said, totally resonates because I'm in the midst of building out that portfolio. So I joined today trying to get some guidance just to see out there, like, what are your insights as far as like what type of projects we should be focusing. I know that you're going to have a session specifically on that, but also, so hearing what people are doing and what the focus should be is huge. So thanks so much for hosting this.
No problem. Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, it's Anas.
Hi.
Yeah, I just came to Canada actually on the 16th of May. I worked as a research assistant in a university, so my background is mostly in basically academic research and finance. I've mostly worked with R. Um, that's really the background that I have. And I was looking into maybe trying a diploma program, like kind of to at the same time learn about Python and about all of these deep learning neural network type of stuff that I don't really or didn't really use or apply as a I guess a finance research person. And at the same time, interested in kind of learning how to navigate the job market, especially right now as first being someone who's new to the country and then who just happens to come here right when there is a crisis and who's trying to kind of pivot in his career. So I'm looking forward to learning more about the diploma program as well as basically just navigating this job market and hopefully like making some connections.
Thank you, Anas, and welcome to Canada.
Thank you.
All right, cool. Anybody else would like to chime in and introduce yourself? Cool. So
Hello?
I think it's time to. Hi, is this Harsha?
Hi. Yeah, this is
Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm an IT professional with close to 18 years of experience. I've been working in Salesforce domain. I'm interested in data science. I've done some online courses, learning Python, machine learning, deep learning, everything. So I just want to see what are the prospects for this job market. That's why I'm here.
Thank you, Harsha. Cool. So during the presentation, if you have any questions, feel free to send your question to the text box and chat box. So I'll make sure that I check them from time to time and address the questions if I couldn't. I'll make sure I leave more time at the end to address any questions you may have. Okay. Well, let's get started. All right. So here's the agenda. We're going to talk about data science. So we've done introduction to data science, a couple of events already. So I don't want to repeat what I've done in the past because I want to make sure that I cover more job market related things and also whatever COVID-19 impact would be in my suggestions. But I will do a quick review just in case someone is new here. Okay. So we'll start from the definition. So data science or data scientist, well, it's considered as one of the sexiest job in 21st century, and that's probably why a lot of people got excited about data science. In real life, data science is not that sexy, right? You may have heard that also. So if you work as a data scientist in a company, you're going to deal with a lot of data. So you need, you're not always going to focus on building AI applications. A lot of the data science related work are very practical and you need to generate value for the company. So that involves answering business questions, through data analytics, right? Or in some other organizations, your whatever output, whatever work you do in data science is going to become a data product, used by your company. So it could, for example, I think we're all LinkedIn users. So LinkedIn has this, friend or connection recommendation engine. Right? It's called People You May Know. And that was actually just a data product they built. And surprisingly, it was not built by a data scientist, many years ago. It was built by a developer on the team who would like to try something out, and eventually he got the buy-in from the management. And that feature alone, it's not hard to implement. Of course, the challenging thing is how to implement that at scale because they have hundreds of millions of users. But that powers, 70% of the growth of LinkedIn. Like 70% of the new connections made on LinkedIn was actually due to, because of this, simple algorithms. So amazing work. So what does a data scientist do? And it's hard to define. But there are some interesting definitions out there. So Chris Dixon is an investor in Silicon Valley. He said a data scientist is a statistician who lives in San Francisco. I think what he meant was, data scientist. And he's assuming that people who live in San Francisco or in the Silicon Valley knows how to do coding because there are a lot of tech firms there. So that means a data scientist need to know math or statistics, but also need to be able to code. I think a lot of us are already aware that Python is a very hot programming language. You should probably pick it up if you're new to data science. Well, because we're all working from home, so you save time on commute, on TTC, on driving, travel. So you get more time actually to focus on the family time, but also maybe learn a new skill, right? Python is the way to start, or maybe SQL. So we talk about some of those. And Josh Wills, he's a VP of data science team at WeCloudData, which is one of the big data vendor. It's a public company, and what he said was sort of echoing what Chris Dixon has said. So a data scientist is a person who's better at statistics than any software engineer, and better at software engineering than any statistician. So some people may argue, why a data scientist should not be a good software engineer. But relatively speaking, I think data science or a data scientist is required to have many different skills. Like sometimes you're like a jack of all trades, and of course, when you get hired into a data science team, you may find your focus. There's some data scientists who focus on building machine learning models, but there are data scientists who focus on storytelling, visualization, data preparation, or sometimes a data scientist need to do all of these. Right? So it doesn't mean that coding is not as important as statistics, but in reality, it's really hard to find someone who is a superstar software engineer, but who is also a statistician. So that's the data scientist. It's not really a definition, but just some fun fact. Now, I'd like everyone to to be aware of the different types of data scientists, because it's too vague. Everybody said I want to become a data scientist, but there are many different kinds of data scientists, and it depends on the company and also teams you work for. So your job responsibility might be quite different, even though you have the same title. So I think in the job market, this is not an exact number, it's hard to tell, but maybe 70 to 80% of the data scientists out there, they're operational level data scientists. Their focus is on data wrangling, working with a lot of data, so large data, but sometimes the company might be dealing with small and messy data, right? And you do need to have statistics or machine learning background, so have the ability to build predictive models, to do deep dive on or do some advanced analytics. So the strength will be handling data, working with many different tools, and also have pretty good business knowledge, or being able to communicate with business. Because the operational level data scientists, the work you do may not go into production. It may not become a software, but whatever information or insight you provide, or the models you build, will be used by the sales, will be used by the product team, or will be used by the marketing analytics team for marketing campaigns, right? A lot of times you feel like your work is very sexy, you're very intelligent, smart people, because machine learning, AI, but to the business team, whatever you build, it's just 2 columns in the Excel spreadsheet. For each customer, what is the likelihood of this customer to churn or not churn, to cancel the contract or not cancel the contract. So they need that probability to make a decision. Who are the customers we need to target in order to save this customer, or what kind of promotion we need to give this kind of customer in order to to let them stay longer, so we can be more profitable, right? So understanding business and being able to communicate your modeling results, interpret that to the business, sometimes is very important. So this is what I mean by operational level data scientist. The second kind of data scientist, the title may not be data scientist, right? They are the machine learning researchers. So they are extremely good in math and statistics and also optimization. Usually they have a advanced degree, master's or PhDs. A lot of times, these are PhDs who specialize in machine learning, deep learning, or computer science. So they have the ability to do literature review, to look at the new literature and implement new algorithms, or just copy someone's idea from a paper, but you need to be able to implement that yourself. So you're not just writing Python, and sometimes it requires Java or C++. And the work you do might become the intellectual property of the company, because they may want to file a patent on the algorithm, for example, location analytics, or some natural language processing, deep learning model. The work might be boring to a lot of people, but it can be very exciting to this kind of machine learning researcher. So it depends on what what excites you, right? There's one category that's become really popular, and that's machine learning operations, ML ops, or machine learning engineering. So these are the folks who are really good at coding. They may come from a developer background, a software engineering background, and they picked up data science and machine learning along the way. Or they are data scientists who actually are data scientists who are really good at coding, and they have some engineering background. Their focus will be on actually pushing the machine learning models to production. So deploying models, building data pipelines, working with big data. When you work on the production side, the requirements for coding, your programming, it's going to be higher. So you need to work with version control. You're probably going to be less likely to be working with Jupyter notebooks. You're going to use some other IDEs such as PyCharm. And you have to work work very closely with the software engineers. So you need to understand engineering and computer science more, so that you can speak the same language. So you understand systems and optimizations as well. So this is machine learning, and we've seen the demand of machine learning increasing rapidly in the past few months. So Yeah, of course, this is downtime right now, but the market in general is definitely welcoming more machine learning engineers. So if you happen to come from software engineering background or computer science background, definitely learn more math, machine learning, um, and very likely you can become a machine learning engineer. And the pay will definitely be higher than the operational level data scientist. And of course, the demand will be smaller than the operational level data scientist, but the pay will definitely be much better. But of course, it's going to be very competitive. We've got a lot of inquiries from folks who had years of business knowledge and related work experience. They're business analytics professionals, or they're business managers. People coming from marketing or finance or accounting, or product managers. So they're also interested in getting into data science. So my suggestion here is that, well, first of all, you need to ask yourself, like, do you like technical stuff? Are you excited by coding? If you are very determined to become a technical, data scientist, by all means. But because you have your past experience, that's your advantage. So you have more options. For example, because you have strong communication skills and people skills, right? You understand business processes. And becoming a data science product manager or project managers might be another potential career path. So because learning data science or becoming good at it takes time. We have boot camps, 3 months, 12 weeks, that teach you a lot of skills, right? We run boot camps as well. But just to be very honest, we never tell people that we're going to turn someone into a data scientist, a real data scientist in 3 months. That's impossible. We can teach them all the skills, make them job ready. But being able to get a junior data scientist job doesn't mean you're a kick-ass and awesome data scientist here. It requires years of work experience as well. You have to work on many different kind of data challenges, right? If you only know like how to build custom mature models, but you're not familiar with unsupervised learning, it doesn't make you a good data scientist. Right? So that's going to take some time. So for people coming from business background, data science as a whole, like analytics, it's not really just machine learning and data scientists. There are a lot of data professionals out there, right? Business analytics professionals, digital analytics professionals, data analysts, BI specialists. Um, and I see the demand of digital analytics or even web analytics increasing because now everybody is remote. The digital data is going to explode. So those are the jobs that require less technical, like, you don't have to learn a lot of Python and serious coding, but because of the business communication, like your strength that you've gained in the past, you might consider, becoming a data product manager, right? So, but what's required to become a data science product manager or project manager? First of all, I do think you need to know some coding, for sure, because if you have never done any coding, you probably wouldn't be able to appreciate what a data scientist or data engineer have been working. I've worked with many product managers in the past. There's some product managers coming from traditional background. They just don't understand. For example, oh, why does your machine learning model take so long? I thought it's just some kind of number, but they don't understand and appreciate, the data pipeline and whatever queries, that's happening behind it. So I do encourage someone coming from a business background to at least learn SQL and Python, and try to understand many different data science and machine learning related use cases and applications, and maybe take a machine learning 101, so you understand the process, so you understand some of those terminologies, so that you can communicate with data scientists. And you might be the perfect person to, the bridge person to sit in between the data science or the technical team and the business team. And a lot of times product managers get paid more, right? So that might be another consideration. So these are the different kinds of, data professionals or data scientists, people work in this, in this ecosystem. So just some suggestions, but I think do your research, talk to people, and try to understand, what some of these roles will require, and which one fits you better. And so yeah, so hopefully this is helpful. And we've got some questions. Is there any SQL DBA? So Ivan, I don't really get your question. What do you mean by is there any SQL DBA? Feel free to leave your comment and I'll get back to you later, okay? Another inquiries we got from a lot of the participants in the past events, or the students, when they plan to get into data science, was that okay? So I want to become a data scientist, and then after I do some research, googling things around, and I realized that oh, there's also data analyst and data engineer, now machine learning engineer. Now I'm confused. So which one should I become? Which path should I go down? So I think first of all, you need to understand the difference between data scientist, analyst, and engineer, right? In some organizations, your data scientist might be the data engineer as well. So when I used to work for a startup, I was the first data scientist, but I was wearing multiple hats. I was the data scientist slash data analyst slash data engineer. In larger organizations, the roles are well defined. So the data scientists are doing specific things, right? Or a data scientist who's in the risk team is going to only do things related to risk analytics. But let's just try to understand this in general, so you can tell the difference and try to find the right path for yourself. Okay, so let's start from a business question. Let's say your company runs some kind of mobile application, and there's a new product release, and the company is very excited about this new product feature release, and but then suddenly they realize that right after the release, it's causing some drop or dip in the DAU. So DAU is short for daily active users, right? For mobile applications, this kind of business, the DAU, or MAU, monthly active users, the MAU, these are really important business metrics, right? Your application definitely need to have really steady growth, in DAU, so you're going to get more investment. Now, this is causing some panic, right? And your management is going to ask all kinds of questions. So first of all, they're going to ask your data analyst or business analyst or your data team manager, what's going on? What happened? Right? So they were trying to understand what happened. They may have read some dashboard and realized there's a dip in number, but they want to know more. So what happened? And can we build a dashboard to share more information? Right? Do some deep dive analysis. And what is the impact? Okay. And of course, people want to understand why. So the why is not that easy to uncover through data science or data analytics sometimes. Using data science, you can be predictive. You can predict the future by analyzing a lot of data. But sometimes the why is related to the product, or it's related to the market. It's related to your competitor, right? And the business analyst or data analyst usually works closer, right, with the business. So they're going to, they either understand what's going on, or they have a lot of assumptions. So they can work with business to do a lot of deep dive analysis and try to understand, why something happened, right? And can we also look at the usage trend, right? So, well, even though we are losing active users, but because of this new product release, product feature release, well, do the people who stick with us, use more? So do they increase their usage? So that might be a good news, even though we're losing some customers, but the users spend longer time in our app. So all kinds of business questions, okay? Can we quantify the product returns? Can we build a dashboard? Now, these are the things that data analysts need to worry about. They work with business, they get all kinds of requests, assumptions, and they have to run SQL queries, use Python to do some data analysis, and sometimes it involves statistics as well, but you're mainly helping the business to answer questions, okay? Now, and of course, after we understand whys and what happened and all the impact, I think the business will want to understand more. We've released this product feature already. So what can we do to prevent, this number from dropping? Can we become more predictive? Can we predict based on the user behavior, before and after the product feature release? Can we build some kind of machine learning model to predict who are the customers or users who, that we're going to lose in the next 3 months. That we have high confidence that this group of customers are going to stop using sooner or later, and can we contact these customers, or can we make a better offerings or promotions to make sure they can stick around, right? Can we quantify the impact on churn, right? That's the business question. Can we build a machine learning models to identify those high-risk customers? We know we are losing people, but can we predict, like next month, who are the people we're going to lose? And then we want to take some actions to retain these customers, right? Can we monitor social media? Maybe after the feature release, people just go to social media and express their negative feelings. And what's the sentiment like? So that involves data collection, web scraping, and also, sentiment analysis. So you might need some, machine learning, right? So that's data scientist, and a data engineer should probably ask themselves, do we have the data required to support, the data analysts and data scientists? We're going to do all kinds of, analysis to answer these business questions, but do they even have the data? Or sometimes, most of the time, the data scientists and analysts, they're going to go to, the data engineer and ask for data, right? Or what kind of ETL pipelines do we need to build so we can prepare the data for the machine learning tasks done by the data scientist. And of course, sometimes the data scientists need to build ETL pipelines or build the machine learning features themselves. But when it comes to automation,
Hi, this is Jose Jimenez. Can you guys hear me, or is it just the presenter that you cannot hear?
We cannot hear the presenter.
Sorry, guys, this is Amir. Just give us a second. I need to figure out what has happened. But if you give us a second, I'm definitely sure we will overcome the problem.
I guess while we're waiting to come back online, this is Chris. I posted up my link for LinkedIn on the chat. So please reach out by all means. I will be actively working over the next month to build out a portfolio for a data engineer. But there's a lot of overlap if you are in the process of becoming a data scientist or a data engineer. I've seen some portfolios that I've taken a look at already. Some from overseas, some stateside in Canada, and there seems to be a lot of overlap. So if you're interested in, sitting down, brainstorming over some ideas, I am currently building something over, let's see, Apache. Just finished something up with Apache Airflow, reaching out to Stack Overflow and receiving a daily email of a set of questions to guide my Python learning. And then I'm working on something with Kafka and putting that previous ETL pipeline that I just built out up to AWS. So if you're interested in discussing any of those topics, or just brainstorming some ideas for a portfolio, by all means reach out.
Thank you so much for sharing this. We really appreciate it.
Oh, not a problem.
All right. Do you guys have any questions so far that I can address here till Shaho connect again?
Amir, I have a question.
Yes, please go ahead.
This is Sipu speaking again. So data science is an ever-changing landscape, and I'm pretty sure you guys kind of have your like your finger on the pulse as to what is the latest and greatest. I mean, I know that's a very broad question, but what are some of the trends you're seeing? What are some of the things that people need to be trying to prepare themselves with? Maybe that may not conventionally be in a data science program. I don't know if that makes sense, but I mean, I guess I'm asking from a standpoint of employers and people that are looking for new candidates. What are they most looking for that people tend to maybe miss?
I guess that would be definitely one of the questions Shah will cover shortly. So I'm not gonna, if you let me, I'm gonna just leave that for Shah to answer, if you don't mind.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool.
All right, I'm gonna answer one since this seems like a bit of a free-for-all, which is awesome. So I'm definitely not a data scientist, but I'm sort of loosely seeing that, like, of all the things I've done in like the last 10 years, the closest I could come to being like anywhere near data science is maybe like a product manager. But one thing I'm really curious, as like technology evolves and different disciplines kind of fork off and people hyper specialize and stuff, what's the best example you've seen of like almost like a growth ladder of what we used to call certain roles and specializations compared to what they're called now? Because I just found this matrix of like 4 data science specializations to be really helpful as I'm thinking through what skills of mine are transferable and how does that relate to like old job titles that some people like aren't catching up to and understanding of.
Okay. Hey guys, sorry. I'm so sorry. I just lost my internet and had to restart my router. So,
Shah, sorry about it. One of the students asked a really great question. Is it okay if he asks a question again from you?
Yeah, I'll do it in 15 seconds or less.
Okay.
I'm looking for a resource, having not looked hard enough yet. I'm looking for a resource of all the things that we used to call people who were in data science before data science was like cool and before you had this matrix of like, oh, ML engineer versus product manager. You know, like some people say, who still calls it BI? It's business analytics now, or it's data science. What's like the most authoritative sort of ladder showing how the terminology has evolved with people who have transferable skills and are thinking about, ooh, could I be a product manager? Oh, I'm really close based on what I did before the name product manager even existed. I know that was more than 20 seconds. Thank you.
No problem. Hey, Gordon, this is really good point. So, well, I think I forgot to change my my name on Zoom, but it's okay. So first of all, I started to work on data analytics, you know, before data science become a sexy title, right? So I started working for Rogers back in 2008. I was using a different tool. It was called SAS. It's still a very powerful tool, and a lot of banks and insurance companies use SAS. So I've been doing something called predictive modeling, right? So it wasn't called data science. But it's basically the data science today because I have to use SAS to work with data, visualize data. I built a lot of predictive models. It's not called machine learning models, but I was using things like, you know, decision trees, regression models, k-means clustering, using neural networks. It's not called deep learning. So I totally agree with you. I think a lot of people got this created some sort of hype, like data scientist or big data. Even though like I've worked as a data scientist, I still think that data science will need specialization. And this is actually what's happening right now. One of the reasons why I decided to launch WeCloudData was because, you know, in 2014, I was teaching at Ryerson University. That was an interesting time because that was the time when a lot of the Canadian banks, you know, companies trying to move, you know, from the traditional data infrastructure to the cloud, you know, to big data, you know, those platforms. And then they started to hire data scientists, and we found that a lot of students, couldn't land a job because the definition of data scientist at that time was very messy. People don't, like HR people don't know how to write job description properly, and they don't know what they want, and the hiring managers come from the traditional background, or they don't know like Hadoop, Spark. But after so many years, when you look back, realize that, the tools are changing, right? We're moving to the cloud, and, we're switching from SAS to Python. We're switching to big data, Apache Spark, the fancy stuff. But the fundamentals, the analytics, your good sense of data, all of these have not changed. A lot of the methodologies, what's changing out there is the tools and platforms, all the hypes. But I've seen a lot of people who have years and years of analytical background. And sometimes they even get influenced by that. They thought, oh, my skills are outdated. No, you're not. The skills are actually awesome. And there are a lot of transferable skills. And don't get scared by like machine learning. It's really just adding some, new algorithms like, XGBoost, random forest, and using Python and some new tools.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's that hard for people coming from SAS background to learn Python, but then they know all the fundamentals and even like important stuff about, okay, how do you analyze data? What's the right way to, to visualize data? Because having the most powerful tool, like, Tableau or Python, doesn't mean you know how to visualize data, So the methodologies, a lot of times are still very similar. So yeah.
Well, and I'm going to take a risk and just, I'm sorry, but like, I think it's worth it. Here's the thing, right? If there was some magical recruiter out there or some AI tool where I could say, look, I have these 25 skills. How close am I to any of these 4 sub realms of data science? And where are the clear gaps before someone can tell me I could almost call myself like a junior data scientist? What resources are there out there where you can just dump everything you know in there and it'll sort of characterize you appropriately? Thank you.
Right. So I think it would be hard to find this kind of resource out there, but there are a few, if you want to become a data scientist, or the so-called data scientist today, as of today, there are some, skills you definitely need to know. So let's go through this list.
Thank you.
I think you'll find a lot of common ground. A lot of times it's really just learning some new tools, and you can add that to your resume, right? Of course, you need some kind of, project, portfolio project, so you can tell people, oh yeah, I've used Python to work on machine learning, but in the past I've been using SAS. And to me, if I'm still a hiring manager, I definitely will think this is a plus, because you came from years of analytics background, but you also know the new tools, right? So a lot of companies have been rethinking about this. Like, should we hire, the people who know all the new tools, or we're going to retrain our existing staff or team, upskill them to learn more about the open source tools, things like Python, AWS. And that's why, because we do corporate training, we've helped a lot of big companies to retrain their existing data science team to start adopting like things like Python and big data. So let's go through this. So the Venn diagram here, we have coding, math, and storytelling. So today I just added a little bit more content here. So for example, on the coding side, we know data scientists need to be able to code, understand machine learning, math, and also be able to tell stories. So my suggestion here for anyone who wants to break into data science or have a transition into data science, maybe you come from a heavy SAS and SQL background, there are gaps for sure, right? If you use your current resume, you're definitely going to be at disadvantage. Sometimes people even prefer those new graduates who know all the new tools, but they may have this assumption that these students can learn fast. But it's not true, right? And so it's just that impression you leave people. Oh, but like if you have years of background using traditional tools, but if you can add new tools, to me that's even more impressive, because that shows you that learning never stops, and you're just a person who just keeps learning new things. And of course, you can adapt to a new environment really quickly, right? So my suggestion, coding, on the operating system side, get familiar with Linux. Based on our experience teaching, we still find that probably 60 to 70% of the students still use Windows, and nothing wrong with Windows. Even Windows support Ubuntu subsystem nowadays, right? So do get familiar with the basic Linux command line, okay? And that's very important. Why you need to learn this? If you want to work with cloud, for example, big data, so Apache Spark, Hadoop, you want to work with, Amazon Web Services, these command line will be useful, and also working with Docker. So you don't need to become a Linux administrator or expert, just know the basic command line, okay? Programming, there are a lot of great programming tools out there. I'm assuming that you're just about to start learning data science, then just pick one programming language to focus on and get really good at it before you move on to learn a new tool. So I know Python, R, there are a lot of languages out there. Right now in the market, the job market, Python is definitely the best option. So learn Python, get really good at it, and then if you have time later, you can learn R. Become really good at SQL. SQL is required for any kind of data jobs: data scientist, data analyst, data engineer, business analyst. Right? So if there's one thing you need to master SQL skills. That's really important. And 60% of the time, you're probably just writing SQL in different environment. It doesn't have to be SQL. Writing SQL to query a relational database. It could be writing Spark SQL. It could be writing Apache Hive queries, which is modeled after MySQL. So or using Presto, Amazon Athena. So all of these are SQL based, right? Understand version control is also very important, but it's not a must have, but I think, if you know how to work with GitHub, it's definitely a plus. A lot of employers will look into your GitHub account if you provide the link. So if you just learned, GitHub in the last week because you want to prepare for the job or job search, you'd rather not do it, because I would like to log into someone's, check out someone's GitHub account to see continuous effort. I want to see like you've worked with GitHub or coding on a regular basis instead of only in the last week. Yeah, so just keep that in mind. So start adopting GitHub as soon as possible, as early as possible, right? On the platform side, I think a lot of, I've talked to a lot of hiring managers or directors. They believe that, these are just tools. These can be learned. So they believe in training people. But in reality, when a hiring manager, a busy manager, who's already, in 5 different meetings every day, they also need to interview someone. And then they have like 200 resumes to go through. Are you really going to look for someone and say, hey, this guy is definitely going to have great potential. I'm willing to train this guy. Or most of the time people will still say, you know what, I'll just find people who have the relevant skills already, right? So it will be great if you, you equip yourself with a lot of, not a lot of, but understand some of the most important platforms out there. So there are cloud platforms, right? So AWS, Azure, GCP. Don't try to be, a master, at all of these, or just pick one. If you know AWS, even though my company used GCP, it should be okay. I know that you understand the cloud basics. It doesn't, this is something that you can definitely pick up really quickly. Of course, unless the company needs someone with specialized cloud skills, and then they're going to look for people who know Azure better, right? Big data is getting very popular, and especially in this COVID-19 era. A lot of companies, so we don't have that human interactions anymore because we all, it's all locked down, but we are going to use the web more. We're going to use digital communications more. So the data is going to explode even faster. So data is growing. So the need and demand for big data analytics is definitely there. So Hadoop, Apache Spark, these are some of the tools that are in demand. Containerization, so understand Docker. I don't think, the 70% operational level data scientists need to become expert in Docker. But for machine learning engineers or data engineers, understanding Docker is definitely going to be very useful, okay? On the machine learning side, so, well, we know that we need to understand math, but what are some of the tools or packages, Python packages we need to know? My suggestion is we'll start from NumPy and SciPy, probably with slightly more focus on NumPy. So these are like, linear algebra stuff, working with matrices and arrays, and NumPy is actually the most important, numeric computing library in the Python ecosystem. It supports pandas, and also scikit-learn as well, right? Data exploration, so pandas, matplotlib, seaborn, plotly. So matplotlib, seaborn, plotly, these are the visualization tools in the Python ecosystem. And pandas is probably just the king of data manipulation in in the Python ecosystem, right? So machine learning, you need to know some packages, right? Scikit-learn is the most popular one in the classical traditional machine learning community. If you use Python, so I'm talking about Python here. So dealing with imbalanced data set, there are packages such as imbalanced learn out there. Okay, doing feature engineering preparation, using pandas, scikit-learn. Deep learning is something nice to have. I haven't found that many companies in Toronto, especially in Canada, hiring deep learning specialists. If they do want to hire deep learning specialists, they're definitely going to either look for a computer science background or a PhD degree, right? Someone who have published paper, who understand all the internals, so don't expect to become a deep learning expert, or spend so much time on deep learning in hope of getting a data science job. I think some companies may think that you're overqualified because you're interested in the advanced stuff. Then you might be boring, about you might feel like SQL and data preparation, are boring stuff. So that actually leaves employers the wrong impression. But of course, there are definitely companies out there who who will adopt deep learning methods for their analytics purpose. But I just don't see that big demand there. But understanding TensorFlow and Keras never hurt. These are definitely useful. But for someone who's just getting started, you need to make sure you're really good at SQL, Python, scikit-learn instead of the deep learning stuff. Okay. And understanding natural language processing is also very useful. So some of the packages such as Jensen, Spacey, NLTK, I would call these like text analytics. NLP is requires a lot of effort and years of experience, but being able to handle text data, unstructured data is definitely going to be very useful. And on the storytelling side, yeah, sorry guys, feel free to send your questions. I'll definitely go through that during at the end. Storytelling, so being able to visualize data, being good at Tableau doesn't make you someone like an expert in storytelling, because I've seen a lot of people who are skilled, but they still don't get it. They still don't know how to what's the best way to visualize data so that whatever chart can convey the right information, but they want to make it cool, look pretty. So that's the question you need to ask yourself when you're learning things. But when it comes to tooling, Tableau or Power BI or maybe Looker, these are all great tools to learn, but just learn one of them should be fine. Okay, at least make sure one of these are in your toolbox. Presentation, I found a lot of folks don't know how to write PowerPoint properly. So definitely, every project you work on, you need to maybe create a PowerPoint deck so that you can use that for interviews, or you can add that to your portfolio and find opportunities to present to people, because and that's very important skills. And a lot of the data science interviews, we have a lot of students going through interviews and being required to do a presentation. And sometimes company will give you a data set, a data problem, and sometimes they just ask you to present your own project. So being able to create a deck is also important. Okay, don't just focus on deep learning. A lot of time it doesn't work out. And a lot of people think that, oh, I know advanced tools. Trust me, Excel is really important skill. And a lot of times I found that Excel is actually just more convenient than Python. I just don't want to open Jupyter Notebook. Excel, you can open Excel faster, and just, if you some really simple analytic stuff you want to do and some plots you want to do, just use Excel, right? And most of the executives, business folks know Excel. So that's also important, okay? And understand use cases. The reason why you can tell stories is because you understand this business, this industry, the business problems. So if you want to become a data, let's say, data analytics skills are very transferable. You know Python, scikit-learn, visualizing data. Now, the good thing about becoming a data scientist is that you can work in any industry that needs data people, right? So unlike other industries, like if you come from mechanical engineering, you have to have that background, and you can only work in this field. But storytelling, data science skills, very transferable. You know, the machine learning methodologies used in risk analytics and marketing analytics, there might be, you know, slight differences, but most of the time it's the same. You're using the same packages. You're using SQL to analyze just different kind of data, but the way you write queries are still the same. So that's something I really like about data analytics, because, you know, if you're tired of, you know, working in the bank industry, just go to retail or go to telecom or go to healthcare. But you need to understand, like before you go to interviews, you understand, okay, this is risk analytics or a data scientist on the risk team, or you need to understand how credit scoring work. You need to understand how credit risk work, understand a little bit business jargon. So you can, when people talk about these things in interview, you can relate to that. Right? So you see, when you're learning data science, it's not just about learning Python and machine learning and SQL. Being able to present, know how to do, you know, create meaningful charts, right, and plots, and also understand business use cases. These are also very important. Okay, and of course, understand project management. A lot of data science teams are trying to become more agile, so they use Jira, they use, you know, Confluence or some other tools. Okay, so this is the requirements, you know, skills requirement, and let's see what the market needs. Okay, this is my suggestion after years of experience, you know, teaching experience, but this is market need, what market needs. Okay, I think the market needs someone, you know, if you want to have an advantage. Okay, trust me, after this COVID, right now, there are not a lot of jobs out there. We'll talk about that. But after the COVID-19, you know, let's say, hopefully in June or July, but let's say September, the market is going to be crazy, because companies are going to start posting jobs. In the past, you're competing against 200 people. Now you're going to face like 600 people competing for the same job. How do you make sure you can stand out? Having a MMA degree is not going to give you a huge advantage. Having a bootcamp degree is not going to give you a huge advantage. There are a lot of bootcamps graduates out there as well, right? And there are people who have years of experience already who want to switch from the traditional analytics background into data science. It's very competitive. But you need to be able to showcase that you have the knowledge and skills to build a solution. So an end-to-end data pipeline. Machine learning is involved. Big data is involved. You've learned 50 different tools, but do you know how to pick the most relevant or meaningful 12 tools and make them work together to finish something, right? To achieve something. And that actually takes experience. So we're going to talk more about this in the portfolio, that session that we talk about how to build project portfolio. But I just want to mention this today, that the market will need someone like this. And if you have this kind of skill and you can demo that, that's going to be your huge advantage. Okay, now let's take a look at the job market. And, you know, we mentioned so many skills and tools. I hope you don't get overwhelmed if you're, you know, a beginner. A lot of those tools are the tools in the Python ecosystem. So learning Python SQL are the most important things from a technical perspective. Now, job categories and cities. I'm going to share you some numbers before COVID-19, and of course, we're going to talk about, you know, the current state. Okay, but the job market in general in Canada, on the left-hand side, so the numbers were collected, I think last summer. We haven't updated numbers, but it should be very representative. So in Canada, if you look on the, so the numbers are collected from Indeed.ca. So one of our bootcamp students collected some web scraping, collected all the data analytics related jobs out there for a period of 2 weeks, I believe. So, and then she broke it down by job titles. So on the left-hand side, you see the stacked bar chart, you know, data analyst, data scientist, engineer, and machine learning engineer. So based on demand, you can tell there are more data analytics or data analyst jobs out there. If you add in, you know, BI analyst, if you add in business analytics, if you add in, you know, some other like digital analytics, it's going to be even more. Okay, here we just group them into the data analytics or data analyst category. And data scientist is the second, and the demand for data engineer is also pretty good. In some months, in some of the months, we actually even see more demand for data engineers in terms of like new jobs. A lot of companies realize that data engineers are also very important. and of course, machine learning engineer. Okay, but if you break it down by city, so on the right-hand side, you see, of course, data jobs. A lot of them are in Toronto. I thought Vancouver was the second, but in that time period, actually Montreal had more data-related jobs. So interesting. So Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, and actually you can see that in Toronto, 34% data engineers compared to 24% data scientists. Last summer, there were even more demand for data engineers. So what are some of the industries? Insurance companies, again, it depends on this pie chart will depend on, you know, the when we collected data. So it was last summer. So Sun Life was posting a lot of jobs. And so insurance, internet software, consulting companies, business services, and of course, financial companies. For data analyst, you see consulting and business services are number one, and internet and software companies. So these are the tech firms and startups. News media publishing, so probably CBC, Globe and Mail, healthcare, banks. Now, the interesting thing is that when it comes to machine learning engineer, you found that, you know, actually a lot of the hiring companies are tech firms for sure, like over 50% of them from internet and software. And also the second largest categories are human resource and the staffing company. So you probably have noticed that a lot of the jobs on Indeed were posted by recruiting companies and agencies. So they're posting these jobs on behalf of their clients. And this plot just tells us that it's really hard to find those advanced, you know, talents who have advanced skills. So machine learning engineers hard to find, and that's why companies rely on third-party, you know, recruiters and staffing companies to help them to find those talents. Or there might be a lot of machine learning engineer people who qualify out there, but they're not looking for jobs. And that's why you need to search a little bit harder. So companies are going to rely on recruiters to, you know, to poach people, right? Same for data engineer, but for data scientist and data analyst, I think, you know, a lot of companies know how to hire data scientists nowadays. Okay, regarding the technical skills required for data analyst, okay, and you can see that these are just, so basically the student collected all the, you know, data related job postings from Indeed and did some keyword analysis. Just some simple word count. Okay, this is not very thorough analysis, but just to show some basic information. And we can tell that for data analysts, SQL, Excel, and Python are the top 3 skills. And you see number 5, Tableau and SAS. SAS is specialized skills. So it's very expensive software. So only company that use this kind of software will hire, you know, SAS programmers or SAS data analyst. So I wouldn't recommend someone learning SAS as your first programming tool. Definitely focus on Python and SQL. And unless the company require you to learn SAS, and they usually will send you to SAS Institute to gain, you know, SAS skills. So we see SQL is number 1. Excel is still very important. A lot of business services and companies, you know, finance, accounting teams, they use Excel and VBA primarily. And but people are, you know, you see Python is number 3 now. So there's no reason not to learn Python today. Data scientist. So the skills requirement, Python is pretty dominant. It's number 1. And number 2, we see R. R is still a very popular data science language, but I think it's used more in the academics. And the reason why you see, my assumption here is that the reason why you see R rank number 2 here is because a lot of times the company, when they mention the data science or programming language you need to know on a job posting, they will say Python or R. And that's why, you know, you see the frequency of R pretty high. But there are a lot of jobs out there don't mention R at all, okay? And we see SQL again, number 3. But for data scientists, you know, if you look down this, you know, this list, and then you can see Spark, Hadoop. So that means you need to know the big data tools, TensorFlow, maybe you need to know like deep learning, and Tableau, we see AWS Cloud. So that should give you a sense, you know, what are some of the things you need to learn, okay? You see Java here. A lot of companies hire data scientists or machine learning engineer. They'll mention this. That's probably because it's either the company is using Java as the data science language. I don't find a lot of companies doing that, or the job posting is not well written. They just mention these programming like Java, you need to know C++, and when you get hired into that company, you never use that, okay? So that's misleading. For data engineers, again, we see Python and SQL, and big data is probably more important for data engineers. So cloud, AWS, Spark, Hadoop, Java, Scala, Hive, and you start to see more databases and data bus related tools like Kafka, Redshift, and Docker, okay? And for machine learning engineer, of course, the focus will be on machine learning, so Python, and then you start to see more TensorFlow. So if you know deep learning, TensorFlow, then maybe you can look into machine learning engineering opportunities, but you need to make sure you're really good at coding. So that's why you see Java is quite high on the list here, and big data as well. Okay, so who are the hiring companies? And of course, pretty much all companies in all the industries, even the traditional industries like transportation, they're doing very advanced analytics already. We've worked with, because as Amir mentioned at the beginning, we have a consulting company, and that's why the students in our boot camp will work on real life projects. So we work with Samsung, Globe and Mail, a lot of other financial institutions that we cannot name at this point. But so we've worked with traditional companies such as Toromont. So they do like a machine rental, heavy machine rental, right? I've also worked with some companies that are in like logistics. Those are the traditional supply chain industry, but they do analytics for many years. But they are trying to become more data science driven as well. So that's a very interesting trend. But even like the oil and gas industry, there are companies like Goldspot, right? Gold mining, and they're trying to use deep learning and data science to help them to automate some of the processes. So while right now, at the moment, it's probably not the best time to look for jobs, but I still see that compared to other industries, the data analytics industry is still pretty strong, and a lot of companies just like putting having a hiring freeze, but they're definitely not cutting data science jobs, right? You have to keep in mind that a lot of traditional businesses, they're just about to start, because in this pandemic, a lot of companies will realize that, oh my God, I don't even have an online presence. Now, without the web, I don't even now know how to reach my customers. Then they're going to start to build their mobile apps. Then they're going to have a website. And then that is going to drive analytics demand in the future, right? So I still think, this is a very promising field, even with whatever COVID-19, okay? But in Toronto, financial institutions are definitely a big hiring sector. Telecoms, we provided training to one of the telecoms here, like over 40, 50, like almost like 60 people now. So there's a huge demand for Python training. Consulting companies for sure, like even KPMG, right? They're building their data science practice. And startups such as, RubyCloud, they specialize in retail AI, and of course Shopify, and they've been using big data technology for years and years, and they use PySpark, so they use Python heavily as one of their programming tools. Hiring companies, so I think when just like you need to understand there are different types of data scientists or data science roles out there. You also need to understand there are different kinds of hiring companies out there. On the left-hand side, oops, sorry. So there are startups out there. Their core strategy or product is not data related, but they're just getting started with data. So this kind of companies, they probably had some business pain point. The business people want to know information. They're savvy for data. So they're looking for generalists. It might be the first or the second data analyst or data scientist on the team, but they're not just looking for someone who's good at coding. But they want someone who can communicate, because you're going to be the bridge, between the business and tech teams, right? And you need to have strong communications, and you're adding a little bit cultural change, to the company who are starting to adopt data analytics. There's startups out there who are building data products. So RubyCloud is one of the examples, right? So I know they went through a couple of fundings, rounds already, but they do very well. Well, at least, based on the knowledge we gain from the public. So pretty cool company, cool CEO. They have pretty strong data science team. And I think their chief data scientist is also teaching at U of T. So pretty cool guy and very knowledgeable. So these companies, they have really high hiring, like the bar is pretty high. Because this company specializes in data solutions. Of course, they're going to look for the best of the best, right? So the data platform they build is the core product, of the company. So they have really high requirements, and you sometimes need to wear multiple hats. You need to be a good engineers as well. Working for startups sometimes mean more pressure, and you need to be a data engineer, be prepared for learning experience, of a lifetime. So definitely going to be a really good learning experience if you're going to wear multiple hats, right? The big companies, they're medium-sized or big companies that are looking into data analytics. So they're also looking for generalists, jack of all trades, but people who can communicate with executives. They need to get the executive buy-in, so they can get the budget and funding for whatever data science work, right? Again, you're the bridge, need to have very strong communication skills. But for some candidate job applicants, maybe joining a company that has established data science team is the top choice, because these companies are not as hard to get in as for example Ruby Cloud or those AI companies. The roles are relatively well defined. A data scientist will, there are different kinds of data scientists, and you may be hired to focus on modeling. Another person might be hired, to focus on visualization, right? Probably there will be less pressure, but the good thing is you have large amounts of interesting data. Data is probably cleaner because they have good, data practice for years, and they have a lot of interesting analytics problems. So you can learn a lot for sure. But I found that a lot of people will join an established, data science team, gain 2 to 3 years of experience, and then they will jump to startup to become that jack of all trades, to make more impact or work on something more exciting. But keep in mind that different hiring companies. So do your research at least before you go to the interview. Understand what kind of team is this, and prepare your interview questions differently. All right, we're going to talk about, well, since we're talking about job market, then definitely everybody's interested in salary, right? So I'm going to share some information. There's some public information I found online, but there's some numbers that we can share because we run a data science diploma program. So we have some firsthand data. The sample is probably biased. It's probably not that representative, but at least, I'm happy to share some of the numbers with everyone. So on Glassdoor or Indeed, these are some of the numbers. So people, data scientists, average base pay will be 83, 89, 90, or sometimes 100K. But this is just a median, right? So it depends on, but most of us are probably going to become a junior data scientist. So if you're just, like in your new grad, you just, just trying to get into the, job market, the number will be definitely lower. But on the high end, we do have students who got salaries like more than 160K. And that's because he had years of analytics experience already. He was that guy who knows R and SAS, but he learned all the Python and the new tools like Cloud, and he got a job at Bank of America. Some of you may have been in the panel discussion last night, but 160,000 US dollar. It's pretty awesome for someone who's just becoming a data scientist. All right, so I have numbers that I can share from our diploma program. So after six months after graduation, we have 89% placement rate. I think when people tell you 95%, you probably need to question the number. We are always very transparent. So 2 months after graduation, about 56% of the students, that's before COVID-19, 56% of the students will land a job. So between months 2 and month 6, those students who couldn't get a job in the first 2 months, that sometimes means that they need to work on their interview skills. Maybe this student is very shy, or a landed immigrant whose language is not that good, or become someone who's very nervous when he's talking to a director or someone who doesn't understand the business use cases but very skilled. So all kinds of situations, but these are some of the numbers we have. Oh, sorry, I have to correct this number. So our average salary is actually 78,000. This was created when we discussed the previous cohort. And that was an amazing cohort because we had students like Samir, who had like 160K. And so that, increased the number, but the real number is actually 78,000 overall. Okay, we do a lot of referrals. So we have hiring partners. So we keep referring students to the companies we know. So the real support in our bootcamp usually starts, 3 months after the bootcamp. Okay, I know a lot of boot camps out there. The support pretty much will end when you finish the boot camp. They'll maybe help you with the resume, but most of the time it's useless. But we start support after your graduation. So that's why we have pretty decent numbers here. To share more details here, our students, like who joins the boot camp, right? So 42% of the students in our boot camp have only bachelor's degree, and 50%, so half of them have a master's degree. We do have some PhDs. A lot of students come from U of T, like 30%, and then Waterloo, Ryerson. We have new immigrants from India, from Queens, some students from US and China. And now, interestingly, because we had 42% of students who have bachelor's or master's, like about 40% of them are new grads. So they had no experience at all. They have never worked before. And even more, like about 60 to 70% of the students had less than 2 years of work experience. But I'm glad to see that actually, we do have, more than 15% of the students in our bootcamp who have more than, 10 years of experience. And we still, help them to manage the career transition. And in terms of the students' background, there are people coming from statistics, computer science, but if you look down the list, interestingly, we had a lot of students coming from mechanical engineering, chemical engineering, economics, civil engineering, and some students from MMA. But we do see a lot of students come from engineering background, but a lot of students say, "Oh, I come from business background. Am I able to catch up, or am I able to follow along?" But all of these students from mechanical engineering, chemical engineering, they are not good at Python. This is the first time they're learning SQL as well. So I just want to give you the confidence that based on our experience, no matter what background you come from, if you work hard enough, you can definitely become qualified for data analytics jobs. And a lot of times you're actually overqualified because you may get get excited by the job description, but when you actually start working in that position, it may not be that exciting. Okay, a lot of times you need to write SQL, clean data, and of course you spend 15% of time building models. The outcome is very useful and exciting, right? But just so you know, you're actually using SQL even more a lot of times. So don't be afraid, and definitely everyone can learn data science. That's just my my conclusion here. Regarding the jobs, if you look at the pie chart on the left hand side, so this is the data science diploma program, but not everybody becomes data scientists, right? Just to be honest, some students join a boot camp. 10% of the students will drop, like just quit in the first week, and we give them the refund. And that's because they think it's too intense. They just get scared because we do move at a fast pace, right? So that's why a lot of students join the pre-boot camp. So like, 2 to 3 months even before the boot camp start, if the student enrolled in the program, we already start to train them or providing support and guidance. So our support life cycle is way longer than other boot camps, but only 54% of students will get a data scientist, like the job title will be data scientist. But interestingly, 12% of the students get a data engineer job. We do have really good, relationship with some of the companies like, Loyalty One, and they have a team. Well, that was like the stats a year ago. They had a team of 12 data engineers, and 4 of them come from our data science boot camp, right? And 32% of the students will get data analytics related jobs. So data analyst, business analyst, or digital analytics, BI analytics. So we just group them into data analyst category. Okay. In terms of salary, median salary is, as I said, 78,000 overall. We only had a couple of students who had, salaries around like 55,000 around, but majority of them are over 60,000. We've seen a lot of students getting like 70,000, like between 70 and 80, and those are usually typically the new grads. And who get jobs, salaries higher than 100,000, and these are usually the the students. We do find that there is a positive correlation between a very strong positive correlation between years of experience. Even your past experience is not directly data science, but because of for example, we have project managers from Canadian Tire who interviewed for an internal data science team manager position, and she failed, and they told her that you don't have enough Tableau and Python skills. So she decided to quit her job and join the bootcamp, and finally she got a data science lead position in the company, and she even hired two of the alumni, and she's getting paid really high salary. And because she has years of business background and also project management experience, at that company is starting a new data science team. So it works out for her. But just so you know that it is possible to get those 6-digit numbers, but still, majority of the students get around 78,000. Okay. All right. Let's talk about the COVID-19 impact. COVID-19. So first of all, some numbers, right? Job cuts or hiring freezes. This is a number from the US, 64% drop. It's pretty remarkable and scary. In Canada, this is number shared by Indeed. So new job postings plunged as Canadian business closed, number up till April 3rd. So it is a big drop, but I think it impacts different industries. So for some of the industries that that are brick and mortar industries, definitely get impacted more, right? But I've also seen like my friends that director of data science at Loblaw Digital, he's hiring, and he said they got so busy because people all of a sudden just start to order things online, and they even need more data scientists. So I will have one slide explain that. But I think impact on different provinces kind of similar, 35-40%. And industries, well, if you look at the bottom, aviation. So we do have a student who we referred to Porter's Airline, and he worked on the data science team, and they are having some kind of hiring freeze, but also I wouldn't call that layoff, but they will tell their employees that you won't get paid for the next 3 months, but when everything's over, we still need you guys back. So it's just like the company is not really having a lot of flights, so they don't have revenue, and that's why they're struggling a lot, right? Hospitality, tourism. I think you guys know these, so I won't spend too much time. Now, but where are the opportunities, right? E-commerce company for sure, companies so that deliver goods online, right? Then I think from so I'm talking about the industry in general. So e-commerce, essential retail, right? So those essential retail here, I mean like groceries, for example, right? And these are become even more important. A logistics company, banking. So we have a student who's getting in the final round with Walmart. Amazon. Right? So in the logistics supply chain department, and they're looking for a data analyst. Banking and finance. I'll talk about this more. So I think because of the pandemic, people really get scared, and I think after this, even more people are going to think about, okay, so whatever money I have in my check and savings account, I want to make sure that I make the right investment. What if I lose my job? I need some kind of security, right? A sense of security. So they're going to look into investment for sure, and wealth management. So I definitely think there will be more demand when we move online, become more digital and data driven, right? Telecommunications. My Bell internet just just went down, but I think the customer support, yeah, even customer services, right? But do we have enough people because Bell probably need to double their customer services team now, or some companies, right? So the demand is there, but those are not analytics jobs. But we're going to collect more data. Then they're going to think about, well, we're going to pay so many customer service representatives. Can we automate this? Can we analyze those voice? Can we analyze those text data so we can automate the decision making? Or at least when they send people to online and have a chat bot to chat with them, it won't solve all the problems, but at least can help them help prioritize customer service representatives' time, so it's well spent on the important matters and things like that, right? So healthcare for sure, right? Public sectors, manufacturing companies, even news and media. So I think there are definitely a lot of opportunities out there. If we work in data analytics, these sectors are definitely going to keep hiring people. Hiring freeze is really just temporary. I think everything will be over. And some of the analytics jobs that I think will be in high demand, data science for sure, big data. I think data is exploding, especially when the traditional businesses realize that having an online presence is so important. And cloud computing, right? So companies are slashing cost because they're losing revenue on one end, and on the other side, they need to save cost. So instead of having all the on-prem stuff, can we move things to the cloud to save cost? And of course, with so many people, even for education, right? If we don't have an online portal, then I won't even be able to offer training courses to our students. But now, because we have an online portal, well, traditionally, we can observe students' behavior. We can do surveys. We understand if they're happy with the services. But now when people move online, I have a different set of questions in my mind. So how are they using our online platform? Do they finish watching all the videos, like the recordings? Do they do all the quizzes? I need data analytics. I even need like a mini data team now, right? We need to start thinking about that. So I think the demand for data is even going to increase. Business intelligence. You see all of those, awesome visualizations, of, whatever outbreaks, of COVID-19. So that's why I think even the government and public sectors, they're going to need more information dashboard, right? Visualizing things. Marketing analytics, SEO, for example. So many business now need to move online. They need to let people know that they used to have a brick and mortar store, on Bloor, and they will have traffic and people can see them. Now, nobody knows about them. So they have to go online, have a website, but they need to figure out how to do SEO, optimize their website. And that requires some kind of analytics as well. So all of these are good news for data professionals, I believe. So my suggestions here is during this period, I don't know how long it's going to be, but you need to stay healthy. That's the most important thing. And of course, stay fit. So after everything's over, when you go to interviews, leave a good impression, and of course, stay positive. I think this is really important, regardless of this, event, like whatever outbreak of virus. But you should always stay positive. There are jobs out there, right? So, for example, I just looked it up before the event. TD is hiring senior data analyst and the data scientist level 2, right? Posted today. So you need to do your research, find industries that are hiring or companies that are hiring, okay? Be smart about it. And some of the WeCloud students are still getting interviews. So can you. And keep applying for jobs. If most people think that, we're not gonna get jobs, no one's posting jobs, they give up, maybe this is your opportunity, Keep applying, tailor your resumes, and do regular reevaluations. Consider related positions. I know we have some students who only want to focus on data science job. He will say like, I'm only interested in data scientist jobs. I'm not interested in data analyst or data engineer jobs. But maybe now you should leave your options open. Maybe consider other positions as well, right? Remember what's most important and be very patient. I think, we need to practice patience during this pandemic and try to learn new skills. So with that, I would like to conclude. So please stay prepared because I project that after everything's over, there will be a lot of job fairs and it's going to be more competitive because everybody's trying to just get prepared. And after this is over, in the past, I think one data scientist job there might be 150 to 200, 300 people. But let's say in September, you could be competing against 500 other people or even 600 people just for one job. So what can you do? It's the best time to learn a new skill. It's time to polish your resume, right? You finally have time because life is busy. You know, when you have a full-time job, you have family, you have kids to feed, you have a lot of things you need to worry about. But now you save time on commute. You get more productive. I do find myself becoming more productive, even though I missed, the in-person, personal touch very much. I definitely want to go back to the office, but you become more productive, and it's time to practice interview skills. We have 56% of students who get jobs 2 months after graduation, but a lot of times those students who don't get job within 2 months, and that's because they need to work on the second half of the job search journey. The first half is building up your skills, applying for jobs, but the second half is even more important. Finally, you get an interview, you don't want to screw that up. So you need to practice your interview skills, communication skills, right? It's time to find a mentor who can guide you through this process if you need more mentorship. Try to make new connections. It's totally possible, doing this, reach out to people on LinkedIn, and those busy hiring managers might even finally have more time to check out their LinkedIn and respond to your messages. Who knows? And time to prepare a project. So if you have more time, definitely you need to work on more projects. If you're whether you're someone who's new or you're switching career, you have to prepare projects so you can build the credibility so people think that you can do the job, right? And that's it. So, and don't forget that we have a lot of options. So WeCloudData has the boot camps. We have part-time courses in data science, in AI, and also in data engineering and data analytics. Here are the contact information. If you want to know more things about courses, you can email info@WeCloud. If your company is interested in corporate training, feel free to talk to Edward. If you want to work with us on some interesting events, you can talk to Ron, who's our CMO and also /COO. And go to WCD, sorry, it's a typo, WCD.blue, sign up for the free data science course if you're new to data science. And of course, on the 29th, we have an event on building data science portfolio. May the 4th, we have data science diploma program introduction. And also on the 7th of May, we have interview tips. So I think that's the end of my presentation. And I think I finally have some time to go through some of the questions. So give me some time. I'll try my best to answer your questions. And also feel free to ask, unmute yourself and ask, okay? But let me go through some of these questions. So question from Jagraj. Hello, Shawa. What are some important things that can be done by non-computer science grad, people coming from math, physics, to set yourself apart from others? Portfolio, obtain a master's degree. Okay, so portfolio is more important than a master's degree. If you have a computer, also you're saying that you're from a non-computer science background. Okay, if you have math and physics background, you're at advantage. So a lot of the great data scientists actually come from physics, from math. You might not be working with, large data set or big data, but I know, a lot of times you work with really small and messy data. So, so you understand data well, actually. So my suggestion is definitely learn some tools, right? Start with Python and SQL, learn the tools that matters in the industry. And of course, we have thousands and thousands of people graduating from boot camps who already have the skills. Right? And it's hard for the employers to tell who is better. By looking at the resume, sometimes it's hard to tell who's the best, because you can have someone who's actually really skilled in real life, but who's not good at writing resumes, right? But you have someone who who's mediocre, but he's really good at writing the resumes or getting external help. So sometimes it's hard to tell. So it's all about building credibility. So why would a manager trust that you can do a good job, right? The first 3 months you can deliver, the promise. They're looking for more proof. It's not just a resume. It's not just that Python. I think if you haven't worked as a data scientist before, then hiring manager definitely will need to need to look at things like the projects you've done, or whatever relevant experience you have in the past. You come from project management background, so that is definitely a plus. Maybe you come from the traditional ETL background or database DBA background, then you might be really good with SQL. Right? So all of these are transferable skills. But when it comes to data science, you still need to make sure that you work on a couple of projects. Right? I'll share more information on the 29th in that session, but just very quickly, don't pick a project that or a data set that everybody else have done. Right? You go to Kaggle. There are probably hundreds of thousands of people who have worked on that data set. It's interesting exercise. You can definitely do that, but to make a unique portfolio, sometimes you need some original ideas, even collecting your own data. So I'll share some of the projects our students have worked on before. So hopefully that will give you more ideas. Master's degree. I think we had a career panel discussion yesterday. One of the panelists, Rogelio's suggestion is that, well, you have to weigh like other costs. Are you really going to spend 2 years on obtaining a master's degree? And if you go do a master's, I think the cost is also pretty high. With MMA, for MMA will cost you like $40, $50, or even $60,000 for 2 years or a year and a half. Is it worth it? Or are there better ways to get a data science jobs? Because I know a lot of MMA graduates, they're still struggling to get jobs because it probably isn't that practical, isn't that hands-on, right? Go to wcd.blue. We're going to upload the previous 2 sessions on introduction to data science and also learning path. Hopefully that can be helpful, and also the panel discussion last night. Okay, so 80 years ago, I used to create logical and physical models using when I was officially a data analyst. Now data analyst is so different now. Yeah, exactly. I totally resonate. And even like 14 10 11 12 years ago, when I was working I wasn't called a data scientist when I worked at Rogers. I was called a predictive modeler, or like 10 years ago you will be called like a data miner, because it used to be called data mining. Well, data mining doesn't sound very sexy. And then people change that to predictive analytics. And then it becomes data science. And finally it becomes sexy, but you're just using different tools. But the business challenges, a lot of times they're the same. And of course, I'm not neglecting the fact that with data science and big data, companies can finally do some more advanced stuff and real-time analytics, analyzing big data. But I think data science in general, the principles, those business problems haven't changed that much. So if you come from a traditional background, for example, for Jose, you create logical physical models. So you're probably very familiar with SQL databases. So of course you're a data analyst, but if you can learn some new programming tools, it might be pretty easy for you to transition to the modern, quote unquote modern data science or data analytics role. So that's my suggestion. Inspiration. So Anna said you need inspiration for cool portfolio project. I think I'll leave more time, for the session on the 29th. A cool project will definitely be a project based on original idea. I'll give you one example here today. So we have a student who's currently working at Nestle. He's a data scientist at Nestle, and he's reporting to his director. Well, I think he's manager, who just become the head of IT right now. So they were a small analytics group that's supporting the larger business organizations. So his manager is supporting a VP on the business side. So his manager liked this, liked Stephen, and Stephen happened to be a fishing lover. He loves fishing. And he said, wouldn't it be cool if I do some web scraping, collect, all the, fishing website. And he found like, fishingontario.ca. And then he was trying to find all the fishing spots in Ontario. And of course, when you go to like a specific lake, and they will tell you that, what kind of, fish, what types of fish they have in that lake, what kind of fish you can catch, what kind of fish you need to release after you catch them, and all those informations. And he visualized that data using some Python libraries. And it was a pretty cool project, but it doesn't involve like machine learning and deep learning, right? So it was just one of the projects in his portfolio. And then in his final round, his manager said, well, you need to go talk to the stakeholder. I need to make sure that the VP that we support like you. So he had an interview with that VP who happens to be a fishing lover as well. So when he looked into his portfolio, he said, oh, and they spent a lot of time actually talking about like fishing and stuff. And he left a really good impression. I wouldn't say this is the only reason that he got hired, but this is a cool project, at least it worked out for him. So I think, it should be something that comes out of your own passion. When you talk about things you like, that motivation is so strong that, and people will definitely find it interesting, okay? Is there a Canadian or North American authority says Data Science Institute, an authority that would grant certification designation? So first of all, there's no, in this industry, I wouldn't even call data science an industry, right? But there's no formal certification. Like you can go take a course from, BrainStation, from U of T, from WeCloudData, and you get a certificate. But usually certificate, it just said, it just tells people that you've done some coursework. It still doesn't mean you can work on a data science project. So I think project portfolio works way better than any kind of degree when it comes to hiring data scientists, okay? Our legal name is Toronto Institute of Data Science and Technology. We're trying to create this standard, actually. This is very interesting, very interesting question. So, but yeah, I don't find this kind of schools out there. I wouldn't call ourselves, the school that sets the standard, but that we hope that that is our goal, okay? How important is it to know Java, object-oriented programming to get an operational data scientist? Not important. So to become a data scientist, I would tell you 90% of data science teams out there don't use Java. So who uses Java in data science team? TD has acquired an AI team company. I think I think this is public information, so I can share. So I think they paid like maybe $100 million to acquire the team, right? And that team is so good at deep learning, and they won like all the recommender system competition like 2 years in a row, and they won the second prize the third year. So they definitely have the smartest people on the team, and one of them actually used to teach deep learning with us. So they use Java. And the interesting thing is that this is a team that they built all of their deep learning stuff using Java tools, but of course they also use Python, but their core technology is built on Java. But you don't find a lot of organizations out there. Most of the data science team, they either use SAS. These are the traditional teams. And even those teams are trying to move away from SAS, try to adopt Python. And there are teams that use R, and of course there are more companies and teams use Python. So Python is good enough for data science. But data engineering, there's some companies, data engineering organizations out there, because you need to put things into production. They do require Scala and Java. Java is probably not a must-have, but you definitely find those kind of jobs out there that ask for Java. Yeah, but I think for example, Loyalty One, or I just talked about another company, but their data engineering team is completely Python driven. They don't even use any Java technology. So if you are good at Python, you should be pretty confident. How data scientists can adjust to new changes. WeCloudData help in education, or they are working on projects as well. So yeah, WeCloudData provide education. So we have part-time data science courses, data engineering courses. We also have the full-time diploma program. But I would say our biggest differentiator is we do provide real projects to the full-time students. So we got a lot of questions. So so we work with companies, Fortune 500 companies, and some startups, because we have a consulting company. So we do have real projects, and those projects are led by our project managers and data scientists and data science leads, and that's why our project managers and data scientists will be the mentor to those students who work on those real life challenges. And a lot of times they're producing really good work. And I think the students are not always going to work on the most exciting stuff, but that allows them to accumulate real experience. So in the interviews, they're not going to talk about the portfolio project they work on. Once you have the real experience, most of the time companies will ask about, what did you do with Samsung? And what was that, clustering or forecasting project you did. Okay, tell me more about it, right? But if you don't have this kind of experience, then of course, portfolio project is the most important. Do you have slide deck? Yes, so the slide deck will be shared on WCDW. So just sign up and then go to the free data science course in the part-time program, and you should be able to find the slides. I'll make sure that we upload that tomorrow. You want to, oh, sorry, you want to take a screenshot of the last slide? Which one? So David, if you're still around.
Yes, it was the one with that matrix of the different categories of data science and the skills.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can go back to that slide. This one? Is this slide you're talking about?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, no problem. Okay, moving on to other questions. Yes, we can share the slides.
How would you recommend to pitch to employers? So in the midst of you spoke about the difference, somebody like straight out of college and it's their first time getting a job versus somebody who's like onto their second career and they're doing a job pivot, maybe an industry pivot at the same time, but like pitching and accumulation. So maybe I have 3 months of data engineering experience, but I have 12 plus years in such and such. How would you combine those things while dealing with a potential employer?
Yeah. I think, and of course, it depends on the employers or hiring managers. Sometimes people can be biased. They maybe prefer to hire someone who's straight out of school. But they will think that your background is not relevant. You spend too much time on in other industries, and they're not interested. But I think a lot of hiring managers, they actually look at the skills and what you can do. To me, if I'm a hiring manager, if I'm still a hiring manager, I look for your continuous learning capability. If you can prove to me that even though you work in mechanical engineering, you work in sales, but you can spend so much effort on building data science projects, and you can tell me you can prove to me that whatever projects you've done is not just for job search. You're actually very interested in data science. I'm looking for so then I'm not going to look for just deep learning. I'm going to look for interesting ideas, interesting projects you've worked on, your original idea, or if you can prove to me that you've worked on a project that involves AWS cloud and also some Apache Spark big data stuff, and also you have a specific question in mind, data challenges you're trying to solve, and all of these are good signs, of if someone is going to be successful in a job. Sometimes if you only look at the skills, you might hire the wrong person, but it's sometimes the passion, whatever proof you can find, that actually is more correlated with the success on the job. So it's not the companies usually don't hire the most qualified candidates, because my old colleague and my friend at who's a director at Loblaws on the data science team, he said, "Hey, do you have anybody from your boot camp?" I said, "Here you go. Here's here's Robert. He's pretty cool. He has computer science background." And then he came back to me and said, "Well, I looked at his portfolio. It was pretty cool, but I think he's overqualified." I said, "Wait a minute. He's just a new grad. He has never worked before." But he said he worked on so many deep learning stuff. And he said, like, I just don't know how interested he will be on a operational level data science related work. That actually makes sense. It's just he's concerned. But some other managers might like to hire Robert, right? So I just want you to know that sometimes hiring managers look for different things. It's not always, directly related experience. But if you can tell him that, well, I have 15 years of experience in some other areas, but in the past 2 years or past 1 year, I spent 4 hours every single day. I work on data science challenges. I've learned all of these tools, and I can show it to you because I have my portfolio. That would be very impressive, actually. I would definitely, you would definitely not be at disadvantage, I think. But because you have lots of work experience, one of the challenges we had when we work with, those, those partners is that they find that our students, especially the students in the boot camp, and of course we sent them to real projects, those companies, and at the very beginning, when we were trying to figure out how to run this model, and those people would think, these students don't know how to communicate, or they don't know how to ask the right questions. All of your WeCloud students are very skilled, they're very technical. But my suggestion, the senior manager from Samsung said, my suggestion to them is like work on the soft skills, right? And that's why that whatever projects they work on allows them to practice those skills. But hey, you already have 15 years of experience, so you do have good people skill. You have project management skills. Find those transferable skills that you can add to the resume. So you do need a little bit help or effort on your resume. Remove the stuff that's not relevant, but keep the stuff in the past that can contribute to to this to the interview. So that's just my take on this. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you for your time. I appreciate your time, effort into this presentation. It was really great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. So one last question here from Jose. I've completed the U of T Data Analytics Bootcamp. I've already talked to you before. Oh, we've talked? Okay. At CBC event at U of T, my instructor said, with my years of experience in IT development, I should look at data engineering. But when I see what you have in data engineering path, we didn't really touch some of those specific technologies. You were an instructor at Ryerson. Have you looked at the various curriculum at U of T Ryerson and other programs, identify what courses will fit those gaps? Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely need to know those programs so we can build the best programs. So I'm very familiar with what's offered at U of T and other institutions. You did that data analytics bootcamp, so it's not a data engineering bootcamp. So, and of course, you won't find some of the skills that those specific technologies. And when it comes to data engineering, you don't find data engineering programs out there because unlike data science that has math, statistics, machine learning, and these are the courses that have a lot of theory. So those are academic programs that require you need to have a certain amount of theory, and in those programs, I was involved in designing a program for Ryerson at Chan School. So there's a hard requirement, 60-70% of the lecture needs to be theory and 30% labs, right? But there are tools that they're not interested in teaching because those are industry related. But in a general data science bootcamp, data analytics bootcamp, they simply don't have enough time to cover all of these because we've been providing diploma programs. We know the challenge. In 3 months, the students have a lot of things to learn. You need to make sure that they focus on learning the core stuff. But if you're adding 10 more tools they need to learn, then they get overwhelmed and they don't become good. Like they're master of nothing. And that's why a lot of analytics boot camps out there, they chose the most important tools. But in industry, when it comes to data engineering is very hard to teach because it doesn't have that many theory. You don't need to know math. You need to get good at coding, but it's not really there aren't that many theory, right? So it's very practical, and the entire session needs to be hands-on. I think it's a big challenge for those organizations or universities to find people who have those knowledge and skills and who also are willing to teach, because it's really hard to find someone. So the experts are working in the industry, but how many of them are actually willing to teach and can also teach well? It's really hard to find those. And also, yeah, to teach and like also almost 90% hands-on course is very challenging. And that's why, most of those institutions out there, maybe they have thought about doing it, but they haven't been doing that. But I think it's going to come out soon because it's trendy. It's getting trendy. Companies are hiring a lot of data engineers and the machine learning engineers. So we're definitely ahead of others, but the market is not there yet. I think there will be even more demand in the near future. Yeah. ERPs like SAP or Microsoft Dynamics add something to data science path. So Ivan, are you suggesting the curriculum, like adding these tools to the data science learning path, or just in general, like should someone interested in becoming a data scientist learn these tools? If it's the latter, I would say these are software specific technologies. So if you want to work in supply chain, or a lot of big companies do use Microsoft Dynamics and SAP. I would focus on the analytics piece, right? So you don't need to be a person who's specialized in working with supply chain tools or SAP or ERP tools, okay? But you do need to understand. But if you want to work as a data scientist, you do need to understand how data science work in supply chain. What are some of the optimization problems they're facing, right? In logistics, for example, finding the shortest path, or so you need to understand those business cases, and of course, when it comes to data science, technologies and tools, a lot of times they're very similar. So definitely search for blog posts on how people use Python to solve supply chain or ERP problems, right? And work on some projects and find some interesting data set related to that. But I don't think there's a need for you to learn specific SAP or Microsoft Dynamics tools for data science jobs. I haven't found, maybe the knowledge of that is useful, but it's definitely not a must-have. I know SAP does support, they integrate with, Apache Spark and machine learning. They have AI tools as well. But if you're learning, just focus on the general tools, and if you know Scikit-learn and Keras, it should be very easy for you to learn SAP tools. So yeah, those are just my suggestions. So I think I answered all of the questions, here. It is right now 8:45, so I went over time again. Sorry, guys. So I would like to end this session. Just so you know, it's being recorded, and we're going to upload it to wcd.blue. So you can sign up for for the free data science course. You should be able to find the slides and also presentation recordings. Okay. Thanks everyone for joining this session, and I hope you enjoyed it. And just so you know, on 29th we have a talk on building data science project portfolio. So hope to see you guys there, and stay safe and stay prepared. Okay. Thanks everyone.